Timothy is.
I hope it looks like it. It's pretty sweet.
Okay, welcome to the Troy Planning Commission meeting for Wednesday, October 10th. Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers.
Here.
Mr. McGarry. Mayor.
Here.
Mrs. Mahan.
Here.
Mrs. Sneed. Here. Mr. Titterington.
Here.
Mr. Wolke.
Here.
We have a quorum.
The very lengthy minutes of our September 26th meeting have been disseminated. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions of those minutes?
If you
I
could
will
just,
note that the original was corrected to show that Mrs. Sneed was not present, but I did not get that recopied to you, so they are correct.
thank you.
So the appropriate motion would be to approve as amended?
That sounds
No.
good to me. Yes.
Because it's beforehand. Okay, never mind.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? They are accepted as amended. Staff have a report on the first item to come before the commission, which is a historic district application for 21 South Mulberry Street.
Yes, we do. The property is actually 121 South Mulberry. There was a typo on the staff report at the top of the page. But the property is 121 South Mulberry Street. Applicants Tim and Susan Brown, which Ms. Brown is here. If there's any questions that she needs to answer. They're requesting the Planning Commission to review the application to alter their driveway. Proposed, or the property is zoned R7, multifamily residential, and is in the historic district. The OHI form describes the property as being constructed in 1900 with a major addition in 1911. The residence is a 2.5-story dwelling with Queen Anne design and elements. It's not on the National Register, and this residence has been vacant since 2016 until the Browns purchased it this past August and have been making repairs. The driveway is one of those items they are requesting to have done. This request is for an addition of 16 feet by 24 feet of concrete on the north side of the property along the existing driveway. This driveway is also going to be completely replaced with concrete from the apron at South Mulberry all the way to the existing garage, keeping the same footprint and in having the additional portion added in. The garage that this driveway leads to is a non-conforming garage. It is up on the property line. The most furthest point of the driveway next to the garage is also non-conforming. It is also along the property line. This section of that concrete will follow that same non-conforming line and then hook and fade into the existing driveway, allowing the residents to use the driveway and the garage easier without going into the grass and causing further damage to that landscaped area. There are photos attached. The application also has a rough sketch that the owners provided us. The neighbor to the north also issued or sent in a letter agreeing and essentially approving the update and in addition to this driveway, not having any other concerns with it. The application has been reviewed for compliance with the zoning code, except for the additional design standards imposed by the historic district. We do recommend approval. The alteration does not detract from the historic integrity of the building. The alterations are part of the much-needed repairs and continuous improvements of the property, and the proposed is not expanding the existing nonconformities beyond their current boundaries.
Any questions of staff?
So I see this letter, and it's from the occupant, but it looks like the power of attorney for the actual property owner to the north has also agreed to it.
The property.
Ma'am, could you come up and address the commission, stating your name and address for us, please?
Sure. Susan Brown, 121 South Mulberry Street.
Thank you, Susan.
And our neighbor,
Chris.
Wyant, the property's owned by his mother, who is the power of attorney for the trust that owns the property. So I drafted the letter for him, hoping he could just sign it, make it easy on him. But he did go to his mother and get her to sign it as well.
Great.
She's the power of attorney for a trustee,
For the trust.
for the trust. Who's, is it George Furness's trust?
Yes. So that is the occupant's grandfather.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Any other questions of staff?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan,
Yes.
Mrs. Sneed,
Yes.
Mr. Titterington,
Yes.
Mr. Wolke,
Yes.
Mr. Cappers.
Yes.
It is approved.
Next, does staff have a report on the vacation issue brought before us today on Drury Lane?
Jill Rhodes, city engineer. So attached, you'll see a Drury Lane right-of-way narrowing request. It was requested by the residents along the street of Drury Lane from South Ridge Avenue West to Lake Street. Right now, the existing right-of-way is 100 feet wide, and actually, Mr. Cappers provided me, I thought there used to be a boulevard in there. Mr. Cappers provided me a layout that actually showed there did used to be a boulevard that has since obviously been removed and replaced with complete asphalt. Due to properties encroaching into the right-of-way, it kind of was brought to our attention by a resident, and he requested, along with all the property owners along the street, that they narrow, that the city narrow the right-of-way. We didn't narrow it as much. When that came to me, I started looking at it, and I was hoping that we could narrow it to be consistent with the remainder of Drury Lane, which would be east of South Ridge. That isn't actually possible unless we do an entire street reconstruction because of the way that the surface water drains. So what we're proposing and what is being asked for recommendation by Planning Commission to City Council is that the western portion, so between South Ridge and Summit, we narrow it by 7 feet on each side and make it 86 foot wide. That continues to keep the sidewalk in the right-of-way that exists on the south side of Drury Lane. And then between Summit Avenue and Lake, narrow the right-of-way to a total of 80 foot wide, narrow it 10 feet on each side, and that takes the encroachments that were along that property, takes it out of the right-of-way and puts it on private property. The other thing to note is that all the asphalt and all of the alleys, nothing will be, all the asphalt will remain in the right-of-way, and all of the alleys will remain public right-of-way.
As well as the sidewalks?
As well as the sidewalks, yep. So we're just requesting Planning Commission make a recommendation to City Council, and you'll see attached also is all of the signatures of the property owners along the street.
Would you talk to us a little bit about easements, utility easements, et cetera?
So we don't know of any city-owned utilities that will actually exist outside of the right-of-way, but per 723.04, any public utilities that exist and that are being made, that will become outside of the right-of-way, a utility easement will exist and remain for those utilities.
Any questions of staff? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Just for your own edification, I circulated a couple of photos taken with the streetscape, just to show you that the encroachments do exist in the street, current street right-of-way. And the, one question, the new street right-of-way after vacation, will that be on the backside of the sidewalk, on the south side of the
It
road?
will be 6 inches on the backside of the sidewalk.
6 inches on the backside, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions of staff?
Well, I guess maybe a little history on this. These folks, at least one property, came to the Board of Zoning Appeals basically asking us to allow their porch to exist on city right-of-way, and the Board of Zoning Appeals said, you're before the wrong body here, we can't do that.
Okay, thank you.
That was a few years ago.
No, it was, seems to me, in the last 6 months or so.
I think it was March, yeah.
Okay. Commission want to take any action on the recommendation to council? Well, it may be unusual for the chairman to make the motion, but I live in that neighborhood. I know the neighbors. None of them have come to me about this, but I don't see any reason why we shouldn't go ahead and apply a recommendation to council in the affirmative. So I would make a motion to affirmatively recommend to council the vacation of the right-of-way and narrowing the portion of Drury Lane west of Southridge Avenue and east of Lake Street.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Approved.
Okay, next we have a rezoning application for 532 Grant Street. Does staff have a report?
Yes, we do. Thank you. Greg Taylor, who is not here at this point in time, is the owner and applicant of MVP 619 Lincoln Inc. He's applied for planning commission to reconsider the zoning, which currently is zoned OR1, office residential. They are proposing to have it be rezoned to M2 light industrial. This property was rezoned. It was originally M2 light industrial and then rezoned, I believe, 2 years ago to the OR1. At that point in time, we had interest in the property to be developed for residential uses. Since then, the property has remained vacant. We have had a lot of interest to do residential, but each time that the people that we have brought through the property, the cost definitely outweighs the risk, and they no longer have, we don't think the market shows a demand for residential uses at this property. The building was constructed in 1924 as a manufacturing house, so it had the industrial zoning district at that time. And the cost to renovate that, to bring it to something else, we feel drives it out of the market. So we are recommending approval from the OR1 to the M2 zoning district. This is essentially reverting it back to the way it was 2 years ago. Because it's a straightforward and it already had, it's actually only had the M2 zoning district despite the last 2 years. We're not recommending a public hearing at this point in time. As planning commission, if it does proceed on, would be required, city council would be required to hold a public hearing.
Any questions of staff?
I'll make a motion not to have a public hearing.
Support.
There's a motion and a second not to have a public hearing on this matter. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Planning commission will not hold a public hearing.
Next, we have the issue concerning a recommendation to council on this matter.
I'll make a motion to, what do I say? Go to an M2 rezoning and make a positive recommendation to council.
Is there support for that motion?
Second.
There's motion and support. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
I do not know who made the second.
Dee.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Next matter on the agenda is a major revision of ordinance number 024, 2018. Does staff have a report?
Yes, we do. Thank you. The applicant is Chuck Springmeyer from Dana's Construction, who is here in the audience. He is applying on behalf of the owner of the Kettering Health Network to do the major revision to the general plan that was approved as ordinance 024, 2018. Essentially, the word, I know the word major revision might strike some fear, but essentially what they've done is the original PD is 6 acres big, and since what they have done is taken the keyhole, they've purchased the property to the north along North and West Water Street, and they've had a keyhole agreement approved by City Council. So this now becomes one large property that almost doubles in size to 11 acres of land. That's the reason for the major revision. And as part of the plan development, they want to basically erect an enclosure for a generator and oxygen storage facility that will be 14.3 feet tall. It consumes a footprint of 1,850 square feet. It does sit back pretty far from each side property line. It will be enclosed by a black 8-foot tall aluminum picket fence, and it does have landscaping around it. So that really is the short version of what they're planning to do with the major revision to the plan development. Staff is, once again, there's a public hearing and a recommendation to council. Staff is not recommending a public hearing. At this point in time, the city council will be required to hold a public hearing, and staff is recommending approval with one contingency, and that's the proposed pedestrian crossing along West Water Street meets the requirements of the city engineer.
Any questions of staff?
I move we not hold a public hearing, the planning commission not hold a public hearing.
Is there any further discussion on that issue? Please call the roll.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Motion is approved. Planning Commission will not hold a public hearing.
Next part of this issue is a recommendation to council. Does anybody have any questions of staff on this matter before we continue?
I'm a little confused with this map. Is there parking included in this area?
Yes, they will have parking around in front of the generator. Currently, there's parking now. The generator will just consume the footprint, and the rest will be parking.
Okay.
I have a question as well. When we permitted the replat to go forward, we made sure that we kept the alley was vacated. Okay, so the alley is theirs, subject to an easement for ingress and egress to DPNL. And that ingress and egress apparently is not going to be used because it's going to continue to be 24.3 feet. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Have you contacted DPNL at all to make sure, because they got some big equipment back in there, to make sure that that's satisfactory and ingress and egress for them, so they don't knock over this new building that's going to go up?
Yeah, actually, their attorney, David Montgomery, had contacted DPNL. We do have a letter from DPNL when this was going through from them.
Okay.
I can actually email it out to the planning commission.
It's a little late now, but I'm going to take your word for it, but next time, yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
I'm assuming by the fact that you have a letter, it's affirmatively going along with this, right?
That is correct, yes,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr.
Um,
Jason.
Tim, this talks about a new building for the generator. At one point, there was some discussion about the Adams Water Street corner of the structure that's going up, adding square footage. Where are we at with that at all? Or are we not? This is only dealing with the generator?
Yeah, this is all they're proposing at this point in time.
The square footage that was added was in the middle of the block on Water Street, if I recall.
Yeah.
40,000 square feet, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I was going to say it was 30, but 30, 40, whatever.
Yeah, that's more in the middle of the block.
Yeah, so we did a minor revision. I have it in the report, the exact date we did that. June 27, 2018, that was actually
Okay,
approved
so
on the
that was
plan.
done now.
So that's something separate from this application.
All right, thank you. So I'll make a motion to recommend this major revision to the council.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second to recommend the major revision to council. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. Cappers?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahan?
Yes.
Mrs. Snead?
Yes.
Mr. Titterington?
Yes.
Mr. Wolke?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Does staff have anything else to come before the commission?
No, we don't, thank you.
Does commission members have anything they want to discuss? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?